Meanwhile, a key target this week was the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID. Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, trying to shut down USAID. The Trump administration calls the agency corrupt. The president tried to put thousands of workers on paid leave this past week before a federal judge temporarily stopped him. That hearing is scheduled for tomorrow in Boston. Meanwhile, a large number of foreign humanitarian programs have been frozen around the world. So we've talked a lot about USAID. What exactly is it? Well, this agency was created back in 1961. Its goal was promoting health programs, democracy, economic growth, and human rights around the world. In 2023, its budget was $63 billion, or about 1% of the federal government. It employs 10,000 people with bases in 60 countries around the world. President Trump says there is waste and abuse, in his words, at USAID, but supporters say the programs are essential. So let's get into this. George Ingram is a senior fellow at Brookings and a former deputy assistant administrator at USAID. Good to see you this morning. Thank you for being with us. Let's tackle some of the things that the president said about this agency off the top. Is there waste, fraud, and abuse rampant at USAID?
When you take a look at the way the agency operates, it has multiple layers of accountability. And I read a report, the 1923 report on the 2023 report on financial report of AID, and there are 7 different laws that it has to comply with on financial accountability, and it received an award from an accountability organization for the quality of its accountability.
So this department goes back to 1961 under the administration of former President John F. Kennedy. You know, the United States exercises its power in several ways around the globe. One is through its armed forces. The other is through its humanitarian endeavors. This seems to be an area of an exercise of American soft power, that by going into places in need around the world, you're actually planting the American flag in positive ways. What are the goals of the funds that are put in these places around the world, and how does that reflect on the United States globally?
Great question. There are 3 goals of our foreign assistance programs the USAID implements. One is humanitarian, and that's in 2 aspects, really. One is responding to disasters around the world with life-saving medicine, food, water, tents. AID responded to 77 disasters last year. Secondly, the health programs that AID carries out. The PEPFAR program, started under George Bush, has saved 26 million people around the world from HIV/AIDS. And it has similar role to play in malaria and other health areas. Secondly, it promotes economic development. This is helping countries with their economic, social, and political development to make them more prosperous and more stable. Mm-hmm. The impact of that is you have a more prosperous, stable world that the U.S. exists in, and you create markets for U.S. trade and investment. Some of the top U.S. trade partners are former aid recipients.
George, one of the hard lessons we all learned through the pandemic was that diseases and viruses don't care about borders. What risk could Americans be at if some of these things like you just talked about, you know, malaria or Ebola, spread out uncontrollably throughout some of these continents where USAID is in place?
Very simple. You make the point in the way you stated the question. You know, people are flying all over the world every day. Sometimes they're flying without knowing that they have a health problem because it just came to them, and they fly into America. With Ebola, the U.S. government, both USAID and CDC, stepped up and helped the African nations contain Ebola before it got elsewhere in the world.
Now, one of the things that we have seen that they actually took the letters off the front of the building. We got about 30 seconds. What does that do to morale?
It destroys morale. I mean, USAID is a brand around the world that is known and it is trusted. And you take that brand away, and both the the dedicated civil servants who work there and our allies overseas wonder what's happened to America.
George Ingram, a former official at USAID, we appreciate you joining us live this morning on the Hill. We thank you.
Thank you.